drake. All right, it's a mountain drake. I'm not sure why that's important, but regardless, I'm happy to bring you into the game. And now, Rebel, I'd like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Set was meta for a while. Do you remember why? There was a particular item that allowed him to be meta.
Yes, I believe it was, what was it? Because when he first came out, the optimal
No.
build...
I'm not talking about first time.
Okay, because I was going to meme and say it was Bloodthirster in the jungle because it was one, or not Bloodthirster, Devourer, whatever it was called at one point. I can't remember. The attack speed item in the jungle that got removed. Yes, it was Stridebreaker. Stridebreaker was the best item that ever existed for Set.
Stridebreaker countered one of his weaknesses. I'm a Set main. I'm a big Set player. He has a big weakness, but Stridebreaker helped. Could you remind me what that weakness is?
No move. No move.
Yeah,
he melee champion.
He gets kited. He gets kited. So why have they now picked it into a Zeri? What does Zeri do?
Move very fast.
Yeah.
So big fun is inside of the laning phase. There's so little space that actually can come about from being able to be used, especially against a Rakan who tries to engage. You could do quite a bit into that particular kind of avenue, which I think is the intention here for Taki, which is that you don't really care about the Zeri so much, and the Zeri's laning phase is so bad that having something as powerful as a Set in the very early levels of the game, especially against Rakan, who oftentimes, again, is kind of latched to the hip of the Zeri because of your E and W and things like that. It allows for Taki to play incredibly aggressively. You can see him actually stepping up right now just to want to punish these two.
Yeah, I do question this Set pick. Whiffs the Haymaker. Still has access to the Face Breaker though, so no huge issue. They don't really get anything out of their level 2 power spike, just a little bit of lane pressure.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of whenever I see a Set not burn flash at like exactly the level 2 point, you know that the Set is probably not going to work in the laning phase. It's like the most powerful spike that support Set has ever had is you just flash on top of them at level 2, and you probably burn a couple of summoners, but the opening was not given. Oh, Draxthar, yoink! Thanks for that.
Yeah.
No, later, Bean J.
Yeah, and I mean he can't step up to this blue buff. Volibear, Goomba stomps him.
Yeah, and Aurelia cannot really move either because Hosbed is ridiculously down bad in the lane. Oh, never mind. Yep, there it is.
Okay.
Look at that. He pressed flash. Would you look at that?
And
Ryu, why are you taking a tower shot?
What the hell have you just done?
In what world?
Universe do you just run through the tower?
Ryuk runs through the tower, tanks a tower shot in front of Hosbed and Beanjay. Literally, all he has to do is keep the wave shoved. And he can't do that.
It's just a flash face break. Yep.
Yeah, that's just Set. That's level 2 Set. That's what you do. And even better, he gets that. What happened here?
What did you do?
Oh, he pressed E! And he got okay. That's Hosmed. That
was pretty sick by Hosmed. That was pretty sick.
Yeah, that was a dirty play on a couple of counts. Not only the stun locking Ryuk under tower, but also because Ryuk had the Eon that did damage to him, and that's what guarded the tower aggro. Okay, less frustration with Ryuk. More props to Hosmed for actually being able to generate that, because not a lot of top laners. Although disrespect to Ryuk because he crashed a wave, and all he had to do was walk the other direction. So there is that punishment to come through. But still, really well played, really insightful stuff from Hosmed. As now again, like in our first couple of games, they're winning on both sides of the map immediately.
For sure, but I don't know, maybe Milky's influence is dripping onto the rift, because I'm smelling some bonky flips. As Glory gets chunked out, Froggy back on the Vex. I'm very happy to see.
This is like almost certainly Froggy's best champion at the moment is just this Vex. Not only does it give him ability to kind of play in the laning phase, where he's looked so good on it in the laning phase, has actually decent farm as well, but also the ability to aggress against the backline is something that Froggy loves. So like I said, when he made the debut in 2021 spring, where he actually looked like an actual mid laner, a lot of that was off the back of being able to have impact inside of team fights, especially when the setup was there. And so this is a champion in which you're able to do that in a number of different ways.
And all it takes for an Irelia is one kill, Rebel. He's got Vamp Scepter. He's full build. Ryuk doesn't have a lane.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you're going for Blade of the Rune King first, but I think you could rush Wit's End, and this game would be over even faster for Ryuk, because there's literally nothing that he'd be able to do in that situation. The Blade of the Rune King...
he just blew out the old observers!
please. Yeah, see.
Glory's so low. Oh, it's red.
Low. Oh!
Woohoo!
I wish we would have got to see the middle of that play. We just got to see the ending.
They cut away as he threw the ult.
Yeah, that was kind of disastrous right there, unfortunately. I mean, that had to be the difference of literally just like the corrupting potion pot. Okay, now we're going back to the replay, which comes through. Okay, the stun wasn't ready for Froggy either. If he had been a little bit more patient on this, I know there might not have been an angle. Glory also flashed to make sure the auto didn't the very end of that play. That was kind of cheeky from Glory, but okay.
But he comes out on top. Well played there. Froggy's first aggress goes wrong.
Does. And it kind of thwarts quite a bit because, again, kill on a Glory, especially on a Victor, is not ideal, right? Like, you don't want to give the additional wave clear of the Aftershock upgrade for the E over to the Victor, which I think is a little bit disastrous. Taki's still infringing quite a bit of power into this bottom lane, which is nice. And again, it opens up quite a bit. This is expected. And top lane's going fine, so it's not that big of a deal. It was just a little bit of a miscalculation of damage in the mid lane for Froggy that unfortunately misses the mark. But ultimately, they're controlling the map. The Gwen jungle is also something to keep your eye on, because the less that the Volibear does in the earlier stage of the game is more that Gwen is going to be able to do when it comes to team fighting in the later stages. This champion, when it's in the jungle and it's left to its own devices, actually has quite a bit of agency when it comes to mid-game fights and late-game fights, just because of how freely it has to kind of ramp up. And especially if you got set up with, like, I don't know, a set with a bunch of CC, purple gun to come through. There's a lot of ways they can actually get this Gwen involved.
Husmed, he wants himself a solo kill. He's going under tower. Ryuk does manage to fend him off.
Just got a full heal off the wave here. There we go. Much better. Now you can go back to the dive for fair Husmed. Oh, wow. What is Drekthar doing here?
There's no real catch, though, because Froggy doesn't have ult, but the Volibear's just going to rip his out. Drekthar, this was ill-considered.
He was just kind of being chilling in that brush for a little while, and I'm a little confused as to why he was there in the first place. He might have been waiting to try to see if he could get a 1v1 up against BJ, which is fine, but you're literally sitting on the opposing side of the map against a Vex who, like, oftentimes, I know you're getting shoved in, but he's going to be able to walk there relatively quickly. It's a little confusing, just to say the least. Hosmed is doing the same thing he did on Tryndamere, but in this game now, where auto-attacking actually comes through, he's just going to be able to slam Ryuk on the way back into the lane. Hilarious. Hilarious.
Husband, I mean, he is so good at auto-attacking. No one auto-attacks quite like that.
Yeah, man. You just give him an auto-attacking champion. He doesn't even need abilities. He just sits there. I guess the rest of the abilities were used to get him in range to auto-attack, but that's about it.
Sure. He did play that very well. We
of
are
course.
certainly just memeing on him. But yeah, I said it before. This is something every top laner knows. Your lane's done. You're donezo. Go find a team fight. At least you're on a good champion for it.
Yeah, he is. It's a place where I feel like Drekthar could actually have quite a bit of influence across this lane because, Volibear is really powerful in the earlier stages, especially against auto-attackers, but hasn't actually showed himself on the top side of the map. Has mostly been elsewhere. Trying to find, I guess, invades against BJ is far more preferable than trying to gank for Ryuk on the top side of the map, apparently. At least they do grab up the Rift Herald off the back of that play. They kind of use a bit of the mid push as well as Amine and Elio coming through mid lane as well, just to be able to snag up that little bit of gold. Because everything has kind of fallen into the hands of Saigon Buffalo so far. It was really that one disastrous play that had come through for the mid lane, which was just a 50-50 that got lost by Froggy against Glory. But outside of that, they got the Dragon. They have multiple kills in a couple of different places. You see the Hosmed is dramatically winning over top of Ryuk right now. They could even set up a dive here. Volibear's in the area, but I don't know if that's going to fully dissuade Saigon from being able to do this.
So they are going to back off at the moment. I don't think Saigon needs to do anything into this top lane. They can just kind of let it continue going the way it is. Let the Gwungle continue to scale. I mean, everything's looking real sunny for Saigon Buffaloes. Ryuk might have a crack, but it's just going to clear his wave out.
He will. He's going to be able to walk away from that situation with relative ease. Froggy also still has the push. I think that Glory, even with the enhanced E probably in the back pocket right now, is just he doesn't have the wave clear necessary to match what Froggy has got. And so Froggy's been able to get out and about a little bit here. He was poking in. I think he took a Raptor camp from Drekthar just seconds ago, which is why I was anticipating a bit of play to topside. But Drekthar is still up here with the Rift Herald to maybe make a play. It's a question of what they do on the other side of the map. You can see all this vision. It's actually a really quick move in from Taki just to make sure that they are covered. Nice plate take from Shogun as well as they continue to kind of find some aggression on the bottom side of the map. Opens them up for a little bit. You can see playing mid lane. Yeah.
Yeah, there it
No.
is. Set ult, the show gets stopped, and easiest kill you'll ever have.
Top lane. Oh, nope.
I mean,
Nothing.
if they can shove this wave, no, Drakthar just going to back off. I was going to say, it's a really devastating dive with the volley and the cannon ult, but they can't do it fast enough, and they're worried about reinforcements.
And that's fair, because there are 3 members that are in the mid lane ready and raring to go up to top side. Plus, Froggy's got the teleport, so you know Froggy's going to be there immediately. And with just one fear, that's going to take a lot of the wind out of your dive. So instead, they just have to back off completely. They have to walk away, and that means no punishment goes onto Hosmed. And that means mid lane was basically taken for absolutely free, because Shogun wasn't punished on bottom side either. It was literally just a perfect dive execution underneath the mid tower with Taki's sets to be able to punish Glory. Kind of a nice setup there for the side of SGB, who again are commanding 2,500 gold lead. This is the play. I think they put down vision and they were looking around, or I thought they were putting down vision, but really they were literally just leaving bottom lane to go abuse the victor in the mid side.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of an uncounterable play as Husmed goes in. Once again, there's the slicing mouse. Actually doing a lot of damage. Ryuk might want to try and turn this one around, but BJ's arrival would just dissuade him. But here's Taki coming in, gets the face break, doesn't have the showstopper, so Ryuk should be able to get away, but you've got to dodge that, mate. You've got to dodge that.
He didn't even move to try to dodge that, unfortunately. In fairness, it was basically point blank, so it's like a shotgun shell that's coming out with that. But okay, now it's a race for first tower. Can we get first tower in top side, or is it going to be on the bottom side? Here, Sky's really trying for it. Oh, that last plate. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Close.
Yeah, it would have been close. I don't know. It probably ends up going the way of Saigon Buffalo. It could have been optimized a little more if they put more of the damage into the initial plates, then drop the Rift Herald. But again, if you're racing, you don't really have time to make that calculation, so it doesn't matter all that much. It might have been a little closer if they had done so, but ultimately Saigon Buffalo was getting first tower. The problem is the second tower, which is a lot more meaningful, because there's a lot of gold that's about to go into both the Gwungle and also the abomination that is Aurelia.
Yeah. I mean, look, I love watching Hansmed, even if I don't love watching Aurelia. On the other side of the map, Sky do get themselves a dragon. First stack at 13 minutes, though. You have to question if that's actually a good trade when you've given so much gold over to some really scary team fighters. I want to ask you, what do you think of this Nash's Tooth first for BJ?
My understanding is that this is just standard protocol for jungle Gwen, because it helps you with your clear speed quite a bit more. And also, it tends to be that when you're in the jungle, more so than any other position, you're not really using your abilities as much when you're inside of a duel, but you're using your auto attacks a lot more when you're inside of a duel, just because you're running into other melee champions so commonly. So this is why I'm pretty sure it's really standard to see Nash's first item and not Mythic first item. And it makes some sense because, again, this is a powerful champion when it comes to auto attacking. When you want your clear speed to be higher, better attack speed is always going to be good. On hit damage is great for that as well. So I think everything just culminates in this being a good item for Gwen in general, but also just for jungle Gwen. It gives her the stats that she needs to really kind of pound home what she needs to be a jungler for.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm always curious about why people build the way they do, and I'm blessed to have a color caster smart enough to explain it. Husmed, at some point you've just got to stop being mean.
Are we freezing against Ryuk right now? At what point does the punishment stop, my man? Like, I don't understand. Just push the wave and kill him again. At least let him have some interaction with you. Don't just freeze him out of the game at this point. That's tragic. There's already one electric champion that's accomplished nothing in this game. Like, you can't add 2 into that by having Ryuk split farm with Ayamine. That would just be tragic.
It would be very rude. BJ not able to steal away the red there. But is very safe. Yes. He'll just go over, start up a Rift Herald. Not going to commit to it, though.
Nothing crazy. Right now, Ryuk obviously being on the bottom side of the map has to respond to something that Hosmed's doing, because otherwise Hosmed's just going to pull bottom tower for free. Not ideal situation. And this opens up, I think, a bit more of an opportunity around the Rift Herald for Saigon Buffalo. They're up 5k. They have more than enough ability to cake this. And teleports are actually not available for Hosmed, but it is available for Ryuk. So this is where Sky, I think, probably should put their foot down and just say no. And I like that they actually walked into the river and they said, we're not going to let this happen.
Ryuk's here. 2 big ults down for SGB. They use the needlework. 3. Okay, everything whiffing here from SGB. They're going to try and fight them with the kitty gloves on. But I don't think SGB can take this fight now. I feel like without Needlework, Shadow Surge, and Moonlight Vigil, you just have to give this up.
I agree. The only alternative is if they get a really massive ultimate coming through from Taki. Maybe that's their one kind of thought here.
No TP on Hazmed too.
No, there is not.
Give it up. Yeah.
You know what I think a play could have been here. I actually would have been in full support of is if Taki just decided to go in 1v5. And that sounds crazy, but if you can burn Ryuk's teleport and allow for free pushing in bottom lane and in mid lane, even if Taki dies in exchange for the Rift Herald as well, like that's it. That's a win all day. I know that they probably don't fall for that bait because almost certainly it would require 2 or 3 people to full commit to a fight for that. But yeah, I mean, if Taki could have goaded out the teleport and got free time for additional gold on the Hazmat, that would have been fine. But they'll take mid tower for Rift Herald all day. Like you said, they didn't have the ability to team fight. They didn't have the teleport to support it. Like, they had no bearing to actually competing against it. So they just take the free gold out of the mid tower instead, which I think is ultimately more valuable than what the Rift Herald's going to bring in the end.
Yeah, it's just a second Herald. So, yeah, sure, whatever. Lose it. It's not a huge deal. Glory and Drakthar both lurking up here. We've got to keep in mind that there are objective bounties available for Sky. Uh-oh, Froggy. There's a flash forward, but Drakthar's really not dealing the damage too fast, but being able to turn off the tower is a pretty huge boon, and they will clean up that.
Extremely well played right there as a dive. This is similar to what the punishment was actually in game number 1 when they were looking to attack on the opposite side of the map. The Rift Herald gets dropped as a way to try to get this objective bounty on the tower. Don't think it's going to full crash, and especially with BJ here, there's no other support, so they don't go for a dive, but they might have been able to if they had actually full committed to it. They're not going to pull that timer. Instead, Hazmat is still just free to attack on the opposite side of the map, going to grab up the blue buff. It's going to prevent him from actually having to leave lane pretty much ever now with the remaining sustain from Blade of the Rune King and things like that. And this game has been a lot of early game that came through from Saigon. Things have quieted down quite a bit, and this is, again, a mid-game where Sky is looking probably a little bit better because they grabbed the Rift Herald, they grabbed a Dragon, they grabbed a couple of kills in return. But ultimately, again, you're still sitting against an Aphelios, you're sitting against a very powerful Vex who's got the Ludens already completed, and the biggest thing that like Hazmat and BJ on 2 champions that are really good at team fighting as well are already in a solid position in a game like this, that your mid game has to be even more electrifying than it normally is just to be able to compete against Saigon Buffalo, especially now that they grab second Dragon. Best case scenario, Sky's able to even that up at the next Dragon or something along those lines, but that still feels like a pittance compared to what you should be getting in this mid game to compete against this team.
I haven't seen an Aurelia in a little while.
Yeah.
Is Gordon still standard?
I mean, you see Shield Bow sometimes. I don't think that's completely ridiculous.
Has been nerfed though, so I suppose, yeah.
I don't think it's absurd, especially like, I suppose if you're like playing against a Kennen who wants to get close to you because of the ultimate and a Volibear that wants to jump on top of you, I guess Gordrinker makes some sense. I don't know. It's a little bit curious. I feel like there's more creative options, but ultimately it's still a very powerful item and still gets you through a lot of what you need to work against.
I almost would have liked a Triforce or something. Just go really aggressive.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been bad either. I'm surprised no one has really explored that tech, although I imagine that the reason you don't is because it's a lot more immediate power on the upfront as opposed to Trinity Force, which, like, if you ramp up over a fight, you become an absolute menace, but you kind of need immediate damage on the Aurelia. You don't want to sit there and, like, auto-attack to full stacks on Trinity and your passive just to be able to continue working, but who's to say? I don't think it's unreasonable to go either direction with a selection like this. Heck, full crit Aurelia with Gale Force would actually be kind of filthy as well. I'm sure you can build anything on that champion. So,
nah, see, I agree with Milky's point about melees not being able to build Gale Force. It's a bow. You can't use bows in melee. It's just not how that works. I'm just saying.
I'm not going to sit here and argue that point. That's not a hill I'll die on.
Ryuk is in some trouble. Will rip out the Slicing Maelstrom. Hazmed is tanking, but he wouldn't be able to tell from his health bar.
How did BJ help there? Did BJ press ultimate? BJ didn't press ultimate. I think he smited. Is that what happened right there? BJ came in, smited him just for an assist, and then he walked out. Because I'm pretty sure
because he might still have the reset. No,
that's true. No, it doesn't look like the cooldown's there at all. Yeah, I'm pretty sure BJ did basically nothing right there. Just took an assist, and Hazmat did all of the work underneath that tower. Yeah, I think it was just the smite.
Fair enough. You'll take it.
Fair enough. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's more of a comment on how powerful Hosmed is to literally be able to dive against the cannon and just kill him outright under his own tower with basically no assistance. That's kind of the terrifying prospect in this game. Up 6k gold is Saigon. A very large amount of that has to just be the Aurelia of its own volition compared to what the cannon is bringing to the table. They're kicking off the Baron. I don't think there's really a way for Sky to contest this unless Aurelia just decides to not show up. She's got teleport to be able to wait here with, waiting for Hosmed to show up.
At the same time, I almost think you have to. That's a huge teleport. There's the Vex ult directly onto Glory as well. That's going to be the instant one-shot. The reset is good. Elio goes low. Froggy goes diving on in. And Sky has been dismembered. Ryuk denies Hosmed chasing any further. Drakthar, he's hatching a ward. He has no idea, Rebel. He's been caught out. BJ goes low. Needs to be careful. He is very valuable around the Baron, of course. But they should be able to catch onto the Bear. He uses the ultimate to get some distance, but he can't come back. It's just going to be Baron.
Yeah, it's a situation where it's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't contest right there, you're giving up the Baron, and you're relying on a team fight that's going to come probably never in a game like this. And if you do contest, then this problem happens, which is that like you can potentially get picked. I mean, it's still full health. You do have that in your back pocket, I suppose. Oh, no, everyone's dying.
Froggy has gone gold, Ryuk has gone to the grave, and now we need a true hero performance from Almine. But it just looks like heroes run away as none of these shots are hitting. There's a teleport coming in. BJ will find him, will snip him down. Where was this in game 3?
That's a great question as to what that is. You want to know what it is? There's no Zillion this time. There's no Zillion. It's the Vex. It's got to be the difference. That's the one thing. That's pretty much it. We'll say your analysis was spot on. They should have picked the Vex in game number 2, and I think that's reasonable. Glory doesn't get to run away with a laning phase. I think that's pretty big. Ryuk got absolutely smashed in the laning phase, which is another humongous part of what happened in a game like this. And again, the team fighting is there from Sky when the time comes, but they have to wait so long for it to really come online that they've got problems. Nice flash from Froggy, actually preventing the Everfrost fight. Now he gets the turn.
I was going to say, Glory, I don't know if you win this. He's just having to TP. Froggy just lets him go. Can't stop him.
Yeah, he didn't have vision right there, and he was waiting on cooldown, so Froggy was just like, he's probably leaving. He burns the TP. He's fine with that. Flash is also down. Ult is also down. It was the exchange for Flash from Froggy, but they're losing across the map anyway. It just doesn't matter. Again, Sky, they were relying really heavily, I think, on Zeri eventually becoming a menace and eventually Glory becoming a menace. That is a rough place to be for a couple of people.
Yeah, it really is. A set will put them in the ground. Shogun confirming the kill. BJ's very deep here. He has to find a way out of it, but he does it well as he skips and snips away. As Shogun now being dove in on, getting CC'd from all angles. He has red-white, but he is going to die. As 4v1 was perhaps a little bit too much. Hosmed is not deterred, and nor is Taki. Goes in, breaks a face. It's only Elio. Can he get the haymaker off? He needs to press it. There it is. A big burst goes in. Ryuk gets the slicing Maelstrom, but it does a whole lot of nothing. It's only the support that has fallen for Sky as Hosmed runs rampant in the base. Can he actually get onto anyone, though? Not quite.
I see them commit fully to the mid tower because that going down would actually help this out so much. And now
Drakthar. He needs to get blown up if Froggy wants to reset. I don't think they're going to be able to find it. So it's once again all on Hosmed, who's exhausted for the moment. Almine is the target. The Core Drinker is used to buy him a little bit more space. He's just tanking towers like it just doesn't matter. Look at him go. Zip, zap, zoop. He's going everywhere, Rebel. The inhib is falling and SGB are striding on forward.
They're going to try to push the final inhibitor turret, or my apologies, bottom did actually go down, so a second inhibitor turret right now, and they should be able to break at least the inhibitor tower. Respawns coming through, health bars coming back. They're going to look for an engagement on the side of Sky. They should be able to walk out, so it is just the inhibitor tower that's going to go through. Yeah.
They hold for now, Rebel. They hold for now.
This is too little too late to really hope for Sky to actually turn this game around. I feel as though Kennen really isn't going to be able to accomplish all that much. Aimane is still a ways out from being able to carry a fight, and Glory just doesn't have the gold that he had in previous games to be able to full carry fights. Yes, he's on 2.5 items at this point, but that is not enough, right? Like you're encroaching upon 3 items for Shogun. You're encroaching upon a 3rd item now for Froggy as well, who also could go for a Magi's at any point. And the problem is Hosmed has had these items since before this massive base push, so I'm terrified to see what he's going to have once he leaves, comes back.
Yeah. I mean, he could just be straight up buying an item for all we know. It's actually just a phage.
Okay.
But still, more power regardless. He just teleports back in, wants to immediately rejoin the play. The push onto the inhib. Froggy's quite far away, so I guess Sky, if you're ever going to fight, you have to do it right now.
They got to find an engagement. They've kind of cut off Husband, but they can't do it. Yeah, Ryuk's got to find a big ultimate into the enemy team. He doesn't quite have Flash, though, to be able to do it.
Yeah, Drakthar has to ult away. Drakthar gets blown up, and in they go. It's a showstopper to start it off. A double kill for the Aphelios being secured. Gwen will pick up one of her own as well as Glory and Elio run to the fountain. Husband can't tank that one, but the Gore Drinker will sip him back up. All good in the hood. And that's an in-hit falling. That will be a turret falling in front of the Nexus. And that will be Sky falling out of the SEA Games qualifier. And the opportunity to represent Vietnam at the Southeast Asian Games will be a contest between Saigon Buffalo and a challenger will decide tomorrow.